Hey Geometries, this is Mr. Bloom and this is lesson 8.3 Trigonometry Day 2. Our objectives, students will be able to use the sine, cosine, and tangent ratios to determine side lengths and angle measures in right triangles. Now keep in mind we started this yesterday in our helpful mnemonic device to remember what sine, cosine, tangent ratios are is what do you do when it goes swimming? Okay, so we have sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And it's SOHCAHTOA is what I do before I go swimming. So keeping that in mind, that's how we remember it. But remember, if I'm going to work with an angle, I would say that the opposite over hypotenuse, okay, is the same as the sine of that angle. And cosine of A, we have something called the adjacent hypotenuse, and tangent of A, we have something with the opposite over adjacent. Remember, this is a function in your calculator. If you put the angle measure in, it has the same value as the two sides that are opposite in hypotenuse of a sine, adjacent to hypotenuse of a cosine, and the opposite adjacent of the tangent. Okay, so that's how we do this. But today we're going to learn to undo. So the inverse trig ratios, the inverses. So when I'm looking at inverse trig ratios, if you know the sine, cosine, or tangent ratio for any angle, or for an angle, you can use an inverse value, sine inverse, cosine inverse, or tangent inverse to find the measures of the angles. Now keeping in mind, those inverses are right here on your calculator above your sine, cosine, and tangent, or in some calculators they're in a list and they follow after sine, cosine, and tangent. So you've got to make sure you understand the use of your calculator. We're going to make sure our mode is in degree, and our mode is in degree. We have to have it in degree. When you go to an ACT or SAT or MCA test, the teachers will clear your calculator. You must know the functionality of your calculator, and that in those two tests, you are dealing in degree and you got to switch your calculator back. Okay, now we will also refer to these as arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tangent because of some confusion with some notation, but they are the same. Arc sine is sine inverse, cosine inverse, arc cosine, tangent inverse, arc tangent. So now let's see how we use these. So finding the measure of angle A to the nearest tenth of a degree by using the inverse trig functions. So how do I do this? Right now, this was the sine. So what you're going to do, angle A is equal to the sine inverse of 0.4226. So now let's do that. I've second quit, I'm going to clear. I'm going to erase the stuff on my calculator, and I am going to go second inverse. Now I have the inverse. I got my 0.4226. And now what this is going to return is my angle value. Inverses, okay, inverses find angle value. And that's all they do. The other ones found side lengths with angles. This finds angle value. I hit it and it's 24.998. But remember, if I round to this, I've got to round up to 25.0, and I'm going to pad it out with a 0. So 25.0. Now, that's how I do it. So you guys go ahead and do the next 4. Okay, turn me off. Go and do it. Okay, I got the A cosine 0.8192, and I've got tangent. I'm going to try to get them both done when I flip my calculator over there. Yeah, I can do it like that. And A is equal to inverse tangent of 0.2679. So those are the things I'm doing. I'm going to go second inverse cosine, and I got 0.8192. be careful. Make sure you've copied down the right stuff, because just a wrong thing one way or another gives you a different value. And I get 34.99, and since I'm doing tangent as well, excuse me, inverse tangent, so I've got 0.2679, okay, and I'm hit enter there, and I have my values, and my cosine was first, and that is 35 degrees. Okay, my sine or tangent is next, and that is 15.0 degrees. All right, and I've got 3 left. I'm going to do those last 3 and I'm try to catch up to y'all. Second, inverse sine is 0.0. Now notice, I didn't put a padding 0 in there. So let's see if that works. 9659. But I do have a decimal that tells it that it's a decimal. Okay. Now I hit enter and I get 75, and then I'm going to do the cosine. Okay, my inverse cosine of 0.5. Gosh, I'm starting to feel like that might be 60. Oh, look, it is. And then my inverse tangent is 11.4301. Okay, now I hit that, and I've got those angle values. So now I go back, and I'm working with sine, and remember, to do this, I go A and the inverse sine, and I expect you to show what you did. Okay, this is me showing my work and my answer, rounded to the 10th degrees. And the cosine, A is equal to the inverse cosine of 0.5. Now the inverse cosine takes a ratio. That's a ratio. Keep in mind, these are all ratios, and they shoot out an angle value. Okay, and this is 60 degrees. Okay, and this not being rounded, it's exactly 60 degrees. I don't have to do anything special with that. And then my last one, I got A is equal to my inverse tangent is 11.4301. Remember, this is also a ratio. It gives me an angle value. Okay, my angle value is 85 degrees. Okay, so we're all good with the inverses. Now let's see what else is next in store for us. Now, using our inverses. Now, we can actually find some stuff on this triangle. We can find an angle value. They're asking us to find angle X. So we stand on X. Okay, I'm standing on angle X. I look across. This is opposite. Okay, and this is hypotenuse because it's opposite that. So I am going to do, ready? Angle X, the measure of angle X is equal to the inverse sine. Notice how I did that? I get opposite hypotenuse, the inverse sine of 6 over 10. Okay, so now I'm looking for an angle. Okay, I take my sine, cosine, tangent ratio. In this case, I take my sine ratio, and I go second inverse sine, 6 divided by 10. Enter. So that's my angle that's returned, and we're supposed to round it to the nearest tenth, and so it's 36.9 degrees. So this is 36.9 degrees. I can also, from this information, let's make that green so we can talk about this next one. I can find the measure of angle H, okay? And I can just do it because it is the difference of 90 and 36.9 that I found up earlier. So I can go 90, so 90 minus 36.9, and that gives me 53.1. So this is 53.1 degrees, my angle H. I could also solve for this side. I could use sine, cosine, and tangent, but I already have 6 and 10, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 6 squared plus, I don't know what b squared is 10 squared. And as I work through my solve, I've got 36 plus b squared is equal to 100. b squared is equal to 64, and b is equal to 8. So this is 8. So bx is 8. What I just did was solved my triangle. They asked me to find one measure of an angle, and I did, but I wanted to make sure you saw that you can find everything else. Okay, it's your turn to find measure of angle x. Okay, so go ahead and find the measure of angle x. Stand here. Identify the hypotenuse. Know this is adjacent, so I got adjacent hypotenuse, so cosine. So the measure of angle x is equal to the inverse cosine of 15/20. Okay? Now, I could reduce that, but what if I made a mistake? I know it's 3/4, and we're going to run it in the calculator both ways. Now, I've got the inverse cosine, let me clear this out, second inverse cosine of 15 divided by 20. Okay, now I close that out, hit enter. That's 41. Now I also had mentioned the inverse cosine of 3/4. Okay, that should work because ratios can be reduced. And it's the same answer. So the measure of angle x is, gosh, I gotta slide my stuff over a little bit more, 41.4 to the nearest tenth. So it's 41.4 degrees. Now, I was asked to find x, but we can find so much more. So let's find the measure of angle n, and that's gonna be equal to 90 minus 41.4. So I'm over here, 90 minus 41.4 is equal to 48.6. So the measure of angle n is equal to 48.6 degrees. So we got that one. We got this one, and we can find the missing side, mn. So I can call that b. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this is 220, and this is b squared, and this is 15 squared. This is 225 plus b squared is equal to 400. Okay, well, 400 minus 225. That equals 175. Okay, so I've got my 175 going on here. And so I've got b squared, gotta stay with my right color, b squared is equal to 175. So b is equal to, that's 25 times 7, so it's 5. I'll do it this way, square root of 25 and 7, like that, and that equals 5, the square root of 7. So b is 5, the square root of 7. That's my measure of that side. So all this stuff I can find, this is pretty cool. Okay, so we got our side length, we got angles that we didn't have before because we know stuff about right triangles. Okay, our last one is for you to do. Okay, find the missing pieces. Go ahead. Okay, welcome back. I'm just going to fix this up a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to go like this. Get this. Wow, there's a lot of things that are going crazy for me right now. Okay, so we're just going to slide this down a little bit. And now, keep in mind, I'm still finding my angles. Okay, now before we were finding x, and now I've got a, b, and c. We are going to solve this triangle. Okay, now I didn't give you those directions earlier, but this is what it's called. It's called solve the triangle. So now I'm going to find all the missing pieces for the measure of angle A. Measure of angle A is equal to, now keep in mind, from A, opposite hypotenuse. Or, ooh, nope, that's not hypotenuse. This is. So opposite adjacent, that's tangent. Tangent, remember, SOHCAHTOA. Opposite adjacent. Okay, inverse tangent of 9/12. Okay, for angle A, because that's opposite. Now, I'll pop that in there. Inverse tangent, second inverse tangent of 9 divided by 12. Okay, 36.8. Oh, I forgot the parenthesis. Will that be a problem? Let's see. No, it won't be. So long as I don't put anything after it, it won't be a problem. Okay, so now I've got 36.9. 36.9 degrees. To find the measure of angle B. Okay, I could do the inverse tangent, but I can just subtract it from 90. Because remember, the two acute angles make 90 degrees. So I've got 90 minus 36.9. That's 53.1. 53.1 degrees. Okay, so that's the measure of angle B. So I've got two pieces here. Whoa, the measure of angle A. And I just have to get my third. And my third piece, let's make this a little bit more obvious that they were different. Okay, make that green. My third piece is finding my hypotenuse. Well, my third piece being my hypotenuse, I've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm finding my hypotenuse. So I am looking at 12 squared plus 9 squared is equal to c squared. So I got 144 plus 49, excuse me, plus 81. Everybody has their days. Plus 81 is equal to c if I take their square root here. Okay, so I've got 144. Where am I? There I am. 144 plus 81. Okay, hop out. And I got 15. So that must be 225. So this is 225 equals c. So this is 15. So my hypotenuse is there, so this is 15. And this is 36.9, and this is 53.1. Okay, that is us solving in a triangle. We were able to find the missing pieces. Now, solve this triangle. It's your turn, your self-quiz. Go! By the way, turn me off. It's a shorter video. Go! Okay, welcome back. Hopefully that went well. We have A, the measure of angle A. To find the measure of angle A, I must use the inverse tangent and opposite adjacent, 3/2. Okay, now I got a couple people out there saying, Bloom, I didn't do that on A, I did that on B. So measure of angle B is equal to the inverse tangent, except it's 2/3 because from B it's opposite adjacent, like that. Okay, and then I got to find AB. So AB, I'm doing Pythagorean theorem. So I've got 3 squared plus 2 squared, and I probably should write some stuff out. I've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I've got 3 squared plus 2 squared is equal to c if I take their square root. That's 9 and 4. It's the square root of 13 is equal to c. Now, it doesn't say for me to round anything any particular way, and my c is ab. So this is the square root of 13, and I am going to use my calculator to find my other stuff. So we're going to slide this over just enough so I can see things. And I got the measure of angle A. What did I say it was? Inverse tangent, 3/2. So second inverse tangent of 3 divided by 2. And I've got 56.3 for A. Now I could subtract that from 90, but you know, I've got that inverse tangent again, inverse tangent, and I'm going to go 2/3 because it's all about where you're standing. And that's 33.7. Well, I should be able to add those two together and get it going. So knowing that, I got the measure of angle A, turned out to be 56.3 degrees, and my measure of angle B turned out to be 33.7 degrees, and perhaps we kind of get that color coded a little bit better so we get that going. So now, let's see how you do on this one. Go! Turn me off. Okay, welcome back. Now, keeping in mind, I got the measure of angle H is 25, and that's degrees, okay? And the measure of angle G, well, the measure of angle G is equal to 90 minus 25. That's pretty darn quick. That's 65 degrees. So that's 65. So 65 degrees. That makes 90. But now we have to find two different sides. Okay? So I got the hypotenuse of 13. And if I'm looking for h from 25, h is opposite. So I've got the sine of 25 degrees. And that is opposite over hypotenuse, h over 13. So I go 13 sine of 25 is equal to h after I multiply by 13 on both sides. So I got 13 sine of 25. And that gives me 5.49. They don't tell me what to round to. I'm going to go to the penny since they didn't, but that is h. So I got 5.49 for h. 5.49. Now, do not use this to find the answer using Pythagorean theorem. Go and do the next thing because that's a rounded value and that'll give me a funky answer for my g. So let's find g. And from angle h, g is adjacent. So I'm going to use cosine of 25 degrees, and that is equal to g over 13. I'm going to multiply by 13 on both sides. And I put that in my calculator. Okay, so I've got 13 cosine of 25. Close it, get it, 11.78. Okay, so I've got 11.78 is equal to g. 11.78. So this is equal to 11.78, and this was equal to 5.49. Okay, I hope things are going well here. If you have further questions, make sure you are asking your geometry teachers. Most people who have not listened to this presentation are lost. So congratulations on listening to the audio. Okay, we have summary. Our objectives. Students will be able to use the sine, cosine, and tangent ratios to determine side lengths and angle measures of right triangles. Okay. Write a couple sentences about something that you learned today about the learning objective, then rate yourself a 0 to 4. And as always, we have our checkoff. Okay, so let's go to our checkoff and look at that over. And you check off the things you know now. Okay. Now, I hope things are going well, and I want to reiterate, please, please, please talk to a geometry teacher. We can clear up your questions. You just have to be able to ask them, okay? I hope you have a fantastic day, and always keep in mind, I'm Mr. Bloom, and you're not.